Hey everyone, it's B, and you're listening to another episode of the In Your Feelings podcast. For those of you who are new here, In Your Feelings is a podcast I created with Thought Catalog that dives into the very real and very messy aspects of life that we are all navigating. This podcast is dedicated to having conversations relative to things like relationships and moving on and worthiness, things that can feel really disheartening and confusing, in the hopes that this openness and that vulnerability makes you feel less alone in what you're feeling and reminds you that you aren't the only person who is dealing with certain things in life. So, as many of you know, I run an Instagram account, and often I'll do little question and answers that ask all of you how you're coping and what you're needing a little encouragement within. And every single time I do this, I get hundreds of messages relative to the topic of love and relationships and why they're so difficult and how so many of you are so scared and so anxious of being too much or not being good enough for the people you love. And there was one point where I stated in response to one of these messages, something about attachment and love, talking about how when you step outside of the fear of losing someone, that is when you truly are able to love them in an unconditional way. The act of being detached and free from expectations or the need for a relationship in your life is the act of choosing the freedom within your heart, is the act of understanding that love is not to be something we grip at because we don't want to be alone, but rather love comes from a place of appreciation. And that was a really difficult concept to learn for me within my own heart, and that's why I can speak to it so deeply right now and passionately right now. I mean, I am still learning the difference between attachment and love, and I am still healing these aspects of myself. But I was able to say that, and I was very surprised at all of the responses I got. It was a really well-received idea when I shared it with all of you. But I did also get a lot of questions from people saying, okay, but I thought being detached in love was a bad thing. Or how do I tell if I'm in love or if I'm just attached? And so I thought I would do a podcast episode on it, because while this topic is extremely broad and has so many layers to it, I think reflecting on why we keep certain relationships in our lives and being able to differentiate them between being things we keep around for comfort versus the things we keep around because we feel genuine love within them is beautiful just as much as it is difficult. It helps us to assess our patterns and the way that we approach relationships. We can't heal a pattern or work towards having relationships that are hopeful and good and healthy for us. That's the key word, healthy and genuine, if we do not first acknowledge all of the ways we may be unaware of how our choices in love haven't exactly fought for that. And so to start this off, I think I want to dive into the concept of attachment versus love. And then I want to talk about specific differences between the two so that you can better open your heart and your mind to where these relationships in your life might exist or to where these patterns might come up for you. And so to begin, I think a lot of us, I know I did or do sometimes still do, mistake attachment for love. I know that even in building out this podcast episode, I hit myself in the gut a little. Going through some of these points, I had a lump in my throat. I realized the ways in which I've approached love from a place of not wanting to be alone at times. And that is what attachment is. Attachment is about fear and dependency and has more to do with love of self, because you don't want to lose something, you're protecting your own comfort, than love of another. And the best way I can describe this is that genuine love flows, and attachment, on the other hand, grips. And I understand how difficult it can be to come to terms with that or differentiate that. We can very easily mistake gripping and clasping at a relationship for fighting for it, for caring. But attachment speaks to trying to keep something in your life from a place of helplessness. Attachment is what we feel when we genuinely believe that we need someone in our lives because they make us feel a specific way. They make us feel less lonely. They praise us. They validate us. And therefore, attachment is, I love you because you save me or fulfill me, and without you, I will be lost. Genuine love is simply just, I love you. So you can see the difference. It comes from a compassionate place. Attachment comes from a transactional place. And that is why attachment often makes you feel anxious or distraught. We are fearing the loss of these distractions. Attachment is holding on very tightly, so tightly, holding on with everything you have inside of you just to keep someone in your life. And genuine love is holding on very gently, nurturing a connection, allowing for it to be a blessing in your life and not needing it in order to feel complete or whole or validated, but rather appreciating it. Attachment is possession. Genuine love is union. Attachment is fear, and genuine love is freedom. And I do just have to make this point before we go into the more specific examples of love versus attachment. We build out our attachment styles from a very, very young age. I mean, this is one of the first things you learn when you take a psychology or personology course. And so if you're sitting here and you're like, man, why do I approach the people in my life this way? Why do I send my heart into the world like this? Why do I grip or seek attention or validation in order to affirm my worth? If you're thinking this right now after what I just said, I need you to understand that you are so unbelievably human. And at times, it isn't even a conscious choice we make, but rather it's a pattern. And you don't have to feel shame over that. You don't have to apologize for the way in which you are trying to heal parts of yourself you didn't even know were not serving you. Be gentle with yourself. We have grown up in a world that has taught us that attachment is the very essence of love, that we have to fight and grip and try to ensure that those in our lives stay within it no matter what, that we need them, that they complete us. I mean, that is the old traditional definition of a soulmate, someone, the other half of your soul, someone who fulfills you and completes you in this extraordinary way. And so from a very young age, our culture communicates the idea that happiness is synonymous with possessing things. And this is why I think so many people feel like we're missing something. As a result, our entire existence is shaped around accumulating things with the hope that they'll make us feel good or whole. We develop an obsessive attachment to things, ideas, and people. We believe that we can give meaning to our lives this way. If you seek love to fill a void in your life that's been carved out by insecurity or pain or fear or loneliness, if you are coming from a place of neediness and dependence, which is so freaking human, your relationship will turn into one based on attachment. That's what we say when we try to differentiate the difference between love and attachment. When you're attached to someone, it's almost like a drug. You're dependent on them to fulfill your happiness. And when they're gone, you are not content. If they leave you, you go through withdrawal. You find it so difficult to be okay on your own. And I think at the end of the day, we all know that that isn't love. Okay, so what is love then? What is love? What is attachment? How do we differentiate between the two in a more specific way? Firstly, attachment is egocentric. Love is altruistic. And when we enter into relationships from a place of attachment, it is often because the people we crash ourselves into make us feel complete and validated in a way that we haven't learned to do on our own. And while it's important to feel comfortable and secure in a relationship, obviously, only being in one for the sake of completion or wholeness or fulfillment can cause you to build your foundation around another person rather than around yourself. Because another human being is good at making us feel less lonely or desired, we keep them around. We put in effort because we know that that effort means we are going to be rewarded with attention or distraction. And that is why we say that attachment comes from an egocentric place. It comes from this place of thinking about yourself. Love, on the other hand, genuine and altruistic love means that you are thinking of the other person. You feel loved and cared for when you are with them, but it is not the sole reason why you keep the connection in your life. You love them. And instead of just being concerned with how they're making you feel, instead of just needing them to fill your voids, you desire to deepen your connection because you want to make them happy too. You make them a priority. You choose them. You find balance in the relationship. It isn't transactional. You genuinely care from a deeply compassionate place. Next, attachment makes you feel overwhelmed and anxious when this person isn't around you. Love makes you miss them. You see the difference? Attachment makes you feel overwhelmed and alone when you are not with the person you are attached to. They crack light into your chest. They make you feel good. They make you feel happy and euphoric, but this is because they fulfill the need for attention within your life. They boost your confidence. When you are attached to someone, your desire to be around them at all times is in direct correlation with your desire to distract yourself from loneliness or healing. And that's a hard pill to swallow. That was a punch in my gut, that's for sure. And, we've all been there. You can't get enough of this person. And so when you get away from them, it feels disorienting. I feel like a lot of people have felt this before. And this is where problems will start to occur in relationships. This is where a lot of gripping can be found, where you need more and more and more from someone, and it becomes an unhealthy need. When you are attached, you might start to put this person over anyone, especially your friends and family. You want their undivided attention. You want to build your world around them. And this can be dangerous because our connections may not last forever. And when someone is no longer there anymore, when they move on for whatever reason, if they do, or if they feel like they can't be the person for you any longer, a void is created in your life, and you might realize that you aren't left with anyone by your side anymore. You gave so much of yourself to this person because you thought they completed you, and in their leaving, you feel incomplete. You feel broken. Love, on the other hand, makes you miss the person when you're apart from them. And I'm smiling when I say that because I know what that genuinely feels like as well. And I think you do too. You want to be around this person, not because you need them to give you attention, but rather because you enjoy them. You enjoy their presence. You let it flow through you like rain. And when they aren't around, you're not distressed. You just miss them. It doesn't consume your thoughts and feelings when you're not beside them. When you're truly in love with someone, it doesn't matter if you're apart for a little while, because the feeling still remains in your heart. There's no obsessive need to be with them all day, every day, to validate the connection or affirm its permanence in your life. You can still appreciate them from afar and their whole individual selves, and that is beautiful because it is accepting and it is healthy. It is a healthy boundary to have. Next, attachment is surface level. Love is deep. And I know this one might feel confusing because when you're attached to someone, you feel so tethered to them. When you're attached to someone, as we've already said, you're attached to them because of how they make you feel. And when you're approaching a relationship from this place, you're validated enough and affirmed enough just through this person's presence that you often don't dive into the heart of them. You're getting complimented and supported and praised, and that is all you really need. Love is the complete opposite of that. When you are in love, you feel so passionately for this person from a place of curiosity and joy and hope. You want to know everything about them, what they desire, what they dream about being. You want to know their history and what their childhood was like and all of the things that make up their interior worlds. When you are in love with someone, you want to know how many sugars they take in their morning coffee and what songs make them cry and what it felt like to let go and to go through the things in life that weathered them and built them into who stands before you. You want to see them. You want to dive into the heart of them and understand them on a level that transcends transaction, but rather bonds you to them because you fundamentally see them. In this way, you're creating an unbreakable connection with them, getting to know them deeper and better than you have with anyone else before, and that is extremely special, and that is extremely rare. To be understood by someone, to be seen by them, to be held by them in all that we are, and all of our mistakes and all of our shortcomings and dreams and thoughts is so beautiful. And that is why we say that love is so much deeper than attachment. In another example, attachment is controlling, and love is quite freeing. You see, when you are attached to someone because you desire to spend so much time around them in order to feel good, you might realize that you're using controlling behavior in order to do so. And for example, this shows up a lot in unhealthy attachments as one person in the relationship convincing the person they are attached to not hang out with their friends or their family and instead to hang out with them. And this is where we often see a lot of manipulation. I don't even think this manipulation is something that most are aware of, if I'm being completely honest, but it's there. Because an attached person wants the focus on them and only them. And this is really unhealthy behavior, and it shows that you are definitely not in like a love bond. You're trying to control someone, and you wouldn't do this if you really cared about them and their feelings and their lives. When you are in love, on the other hand, of course you want to spend as much time as possible with the person that you care for. Love is beautiful, and it adds a sunny kind of happiness into your life. It feels like such a blessing. But when it comes to genuine love, you would never put your needs above theirs, in the sense that if they have their own individual lives, if they have their own desires and hobbies and things that also add happiness into their life outside of you, you would never ask them to give that up in order to spend more time with you. You instead understand that what's going to make them happy is to keep spending time with their family and their friends, so there is encouragement there. You respect them and care about how they feel, and because of that, you would never tell them what to do. You would never try to manipulate them into spending time with you because then it isn't real. When you love someone, you don't ever put them in an ultimatum position where they have to choose you over their own freedom. A deep and compassionate, genuine, loving relationship goes off the basis that two independent people come together and love each other without controlling each other. It's a union and appreciation. And so, within that same vein, attachment stifles growth, whereas love encourages it. See, when you're attached to someone, as I've said before, you want to be around them all the time, and in doing so, you become a very integral part of their life as well. As long as they make you feel good, you're happy, and you don't want anything to change. So you won't encourage that change or that personal development and growth for them. You won't encourage them to follow their dreams and to become the absolute most evolved and aware and happy human they can be, because you are afraid that once that occurs, you will lose them. You grip at who they are, and you don't give them the space to become who they can be. And within this, you're also restricting that same growth for yourself. See, when you are in love with someone, genuine love, you will try to encourage them to be the best version of themselves. And they will also do the same for you. You both positively impact one another. You are overwhelmed with joy at the thought of them being happy and fulfilled and growing into the kind of person they have been working so hard to become. You provide support for your partner, and they do the same for you. You both care about what the other person wants, so you will help them to achieve whatever it is. A loving relationship is where you both stimulate each other to take on your lives in the most successful way possible, knowing that you always have someone that will be there to help you, support you, and love you no matter what. Through loving someone genuinely and compassionately, you will become a better person and a more loving person yourself as well. Instead of needing to be pacified or appeased and built up constantly, never called out or challenged to grow, love helps for you to be able to notice the more negative qualities that you have. And you will try to fix them so that they don't harm your relationship. Love inspires you to be better, not from a place of being self-centered, but rather from a place of gratitude. How do I work on becoming whole on my own so that I can better show up? And how do I work on healing my wounds so that I don't allow for them to wound the person I am with? By loving someone else, you can look deeper within yourself and fix the parts of you that don't resonate with your kind heart or the kind of connection you desire. And last but not least, attachment is difficult. It is so heavy, and love is easy. I mean, love isn't always easy, but love is essentially and foundationally ease. See, when you are attached to someone, it is always rooted in this concept of being made whole by them, of needing them in your life because they are the source of your happiness or your fulfillment. They make you feel good. And instead of understanding that you will be completely fine if this relationship leaves your life or if you just can't make it work, attachment grips. It clings from a place of neediness. You feel distraught. You feel anxious. You feel overwhelmed and almost manic at times because you are always worried that you are going to lose someone. You hold on so tightly, and that is overwhelming and exhausting, and it burrows into the heart of you and can make you feel distress because you cannot possibly love someone you are constantly worried you are going to lose. That takes you out of your presence completely, and you can't love someone when you have convinced yourself that love is the only reason why you are happy. When you use it in that way, you will do anything to keep it around, and that isn't healthy. There are literally no boundaries there. And I have been there, and let me tell you, it becomes a toxic attachment for self-preservation, rather than choosing someone from a compassionate and balanced place, from a place of knowing that you get to appreciate and care for them as they are, for as long as life affords you the beautiful, beautiful opportunity, and you won't be destroyed without them, but rather you'll be thankful for what they taught you. And if things get hard then, not in the sense that you should run away when life gets tough, but if you genuinely cannot make up the miles, or if you genuinely cannot make the dynamic work any longer, you let go. You love from a distance. You lay that hope down. You appreciate what it was without needing to ask it to be more than what it can be. There is acceptance. There is flow. There is calm. And that is what love is. Love is ease. Love is calm. Genuine lovers choose each other each moment. Again and again, each day that they're together, they wake up and they choose one another. There are no ideals into the future of what will be and for how long it will be and for how long it will exist, and there are no promises or guarantees. There is just calm and presence and acceptance and gratitude and appreciation. And there's no fear of loss, because you know that you will never lose something you have felt so deeply. You will carry it within you forever. This love does not make you grip. You hold it gently. You are at peace within it. Genuine love is detached love in the sense that it embraces uncertainty. It embraces the fact that the only thing we know for sure is that everything could change. It embraces this and still chooses to be open and vulnerable, and in this way, detached love is the most courageous act. It is beautiful and selfless and full of gratitude and appreciation. And so, to sum it up, I want to walk you through just a list of differences you can almost use as a checklist if your eyes are being open to this awareness within the definition of love and attachment, and if not only you're trying to figure out if you're loving from a place of attachment, but if your partner is loving you from a place of attachment. Because that is also a huge, huge thing we become aware of. Sometimes we won't relate to these things, to these patterns I just spoke about, but rather we're being treated in these ways, and we can become aware that maybe someone isn't giving us love. Maybe they're attached to us in an unhealthy way. And that gives us the freedom to seek more. So remember, attachment is overwhelming bouts of anxiety. It is clinging tightly for fear that they might leave. It is shutting down emotionally instead of opening up. Attachment is idealizing your relationships instead of seeing them for what they are. Attachment is feeling like you need more, like your partner is never enough. Attachment is relying on your partner for your own fulfillment. Attachment is always waiting for the other shoe to drop, like you are stuck and trapped and without other options because you are so deeply dependent. Attachment is blaming your partner for your unhappiness. Attachment is hiding who you truly are because you are afraid of being rejected by someone you have built your world around. Attachment is heavy. Love, on the other hand, is openness and expansiveness. Love is embracing vulnerability as a strength, not a weakness. Love is having a strong sense of worth. Love is trusting in yourself and the other person. Love is growing closer to your partner every day. Love is empathy and understanding and forgiveness. Love is giving and receiving unconditionally. Love is listening without judgment. Love is communicating, even if you would rather walk away. Love is sharing your feelings openly and honestly. Love is taking responsibility for your actions. Love is learning more about yourself through the freedom of your connection and growing with one another. Love is knowing above all else that while you absolutely enjoy and feel so grateful to have someone in your life, you will be okay if it doesn't work out. All right, I hope this helped for you to maybe become aware of a pattern you may not have recognized in yourself, or maybe even in your partner, and the kind of love they are seeking from you. And while I would be here for hours if I did try to tackle how to heal these patterns in this episode, I do want to leave you with a few starting points for where you can research more about this and how you can start to take the steps towards that genuine, deep, and beautiful love, because it is out there for you. And there's no shame in being someone who has to work at this stuff. This is heavy and gritty work, and these patterns have been created within us from a young age. I said it before, but this isn't your fault. Being aware of it gives you the ability to heal it. And the way that we start to do that is by developing our own sense of security rather than seeking it externally. Developing healthier boundaries, a separation of self and everything else. And then deepening our connection to the world as a whole, and not just deepening our connection to someone as our whole world. And while this podcast was obviously meant to define what genuine love is versus attachment, I'm going to ensure that next week's episode dives into attachment styles and how we work towards healing these patterns in tangible ways, because I also want to go into that. I don't want to give you all of this information and no way to hold it or no way to heal it. So I hope you felt something in this episode and that it resonated with you and really dove into your heart. I hope you're asking yourself a lot of questions about how you feel in your connections and how you treat them. I know at times this is extremely difficult to hear, but I'm proud of you for being here with me and for doing the work. It's courageous to continue to show up and to heal yourself even when it hurts. So until next week, stay safe and be gentle with yourself. You are still learning.